Hello, and welcome to the Albright Scholar for September 2020. My name is John Pankratz. I teach history at Albright, and each month it's my privilege to welcome BCTV viewers and residents of Greater Reading to take a glimpse inside our learning community up here on North 13th Street, to look at the work being done by teachers and students, and to think about its impact on all of us. Well, it's now September. We have transitioned out of a unprecedented summer into an unprecedented fall semester, and we are making the best of it. Today's program is going to commemorate that transition. We're going to be talking about a wonderful student acre project, an Albright Creative Research Experience, and then we're going to talk about some of the ways in which culture stays alive and vibrant even on a campus that is being very careful and very safe in the face of the COVID pandemic. My guests today in person are Joycelyn Burdett, Dr. Joycelyn Burdett, a professor of fashion and fashion history in our department at Albright, and David Tanner, the now longtime director of the Center for the Arts at Albright. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here, John. Thank you.
Joycelyn, you finished your first year, and your first year finished in a strange way, as it did for all of us as of March 13th. But you took advantage of the summer to work with a young student on a very interesting creative research experience, didn't you?
Yes, I found it very interesting. We were able to recreate a Charles James gown. It was his Infanta gown design.
Mm. And this is a designer that you yourself had studied and worked on before?
Yes, I first was able to see his work when I was a grad student at The Ohio State University. And in fact, this is where the gown is residing that we have copied. And I was just amazed because I was working in the collection and able to see the inside of these gowns. And that's just really what intrigued me so much.
Oh, so it's not just the image itself, but it's the construction that got studied here.
I am mostly interested in construction, yes. And this was designed in the 50s where there was a lot of inner construction of the haute couture gowns.
Really labor intensive. Yeah.
Call me crazy.
And for it to work, it really has to be exacting, doesn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we should share some images here. Crystal was going to join us today, but I think she got waylaid on a Saturday. So we have a picture of her and a picture of some of these creations. So let me share my screen and look at my PowerPoint. Can we see that well? Well, we'll find out. This is Crystal, and here she is at one of the last times that Albright students had fun, the winter ball back in early February. And so I knew for a fact that she was a fashionista and very passionate about beautiful clothing and ball gowns. We have an image of Charles James. This is probably the late 40s, do you think?
Or early 50s.
Early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And here he is with literally a bevy of his gowns, all these magnificent creations. Here's a nice image of one of his works. And as you were saying, it's the structure to make this thing work and hang and flounce out like that must be amazing.
He used a wide variety of materials to hold the shapes that he was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from padding, cotton batting.
Mm-hmm.
One gown even had some window screening inside the skirt to hold it out nice and stiff.
Like aluminum window screens.
No, it was the fiberglass kind.
Oh, fiberglass.
More flexible than aluminum. Yeah.
Right. I guess so. But really stiff and
Poppy.
oh wow. Now this is the actual gown,
Yes.
and it's called the Infanta gown.
Uh-huh.
Now you
Kind
didn't
of
put the-
reminiscent of the Spanish style.
Yeah, I can see a little Velasquez in it. Now you've seen this in person, right? In
Yes.
Columbus. Yeah,
Yes.
but of course, you and Crystal weren't able to travel there.
We had planned to travel to see the gowns in the museums and examine them ourselves, but COVID prevented that.
Yeah.
So we were able to get some measurements from the curator.
Okay, so you had and then you transferred those measurements to Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal and I worked together to pattern it using those measurements so that we'd be able to, but we actually made it to fit Crystal. So we made it her size, not the exact size of the garment.
Yeah. Now, I'm guessing this must have been an amazing learning experience for Crystal, right?
Oh yeah, that was a
Because
big learning curve.
She's currently a junior or a sophomore.
She is a junior this year. So she had taken one sewing class and then had worked on her own a little bit. So yeah, we were able to work together. After she came out of that isolation of the month of January, we got permission to have her come to campus during July. Not January, June. So she was able to come in July.
Good. So you actually spent some time in the same room with masks and lots of ventilation and everything like that.
Yes.
Great. I think we're all doing that. We're learning how to be safe and yet be almost hands-on in our instruction, because there are certain fields like theater, like biology, like chemistry, that really need that close proximity and that quick back and forth that you can achieve. So yeah, I have a whole collection of masks. I won't model them today, but I've been teaching mask to mask. And
that's a whole nother topic for a future program.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. Most of the marketing. I am actually wearing trousers today, but on Zoom, it's hard to tell. Here is Crystal, and Crystal in the Infanta gown that she and you made. Wow.
That's gorgeous.
What a beautiful thing.
We're so pleased with how it turned out. It really does look good.
It really does. It would be worth holding a magnificent ball sometime. Maybe a masked ball.
There you go.
There we go. What are these fabrics?
The original gown, I think, had silk, a lot of silk incorporated into it. We used polyester satin covered with black lace for the bodice and the peplum or the overskirt. And then
Did those already come together, or did you overlay the lace onto the satin?
No, it was overlaid.
Yeah.
And then we used the nylon tulle. Actually, nylon was kind of a new, and especially tulle was a new fabric in the 1950s. So yeah, that was the nylon tulle underneath. Now, under that tulle is a wide, stiff, not super stiff. I mean, there's still some flexibility, but it's an A-line kind of petticoat or a skirt that is held out with rows and rows of horsehair braid.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then inside the bodice is some steel spiral bones and a little bit of cotton padding.
So the dress could probably stand up on its own.
Not quite, but yeah.
And it's not necessarily comfortable to wear?
Oh, I think she found it very comfortable.
Okay.
No, because the spiral bones are flexible. It's just holding all of that nice, beautiful shape for the slim waistline.
Yeah.
And the women in the 50s
giving her the
were,
structural hug as she's wearing it.
yes, the women in the 50s were very used to that kind of feeling on their clothes. They were used to this snugness that we no longer would find actually very comfortable because we have so much knitwear.
Right, right. And here she is taking a little bit of a twirl.
You can see the movement though is really, it flows so lovely.
Wouldn't that be fun to dance in that?
Oh goodness, yes. It is really something. She must be very pleased and very proud. And we'll say online, props to her for doing this work and doing all this learning. Joycelyn, let me ask you one more question. I know that you're a fashion historian and that you take that history seriously. Has it been fun for you to work at a liberal arts college where it's not simply a kind of design studio, but it's a broad learning community where you can meet other people and dialogue with them?
I love collaborating, and a liberal arts college lends that. And in fact, all of my career as a student, and then also all of my previous teaching career, has always been at a liberal arts college. So I'm very comfortable with this and love this kind of education. Yeah.
Great. I do too. And I know both David and I really appreciate the fact that we have this vibrant and really creative and really distinguished fashion department here at Albright, and have for decades now.
I'm going to put a plug in, and I'm not even ashamed of it. We just had a meeting with alumni who are amazingly successful in their careers, and we are working towards showing our graduates and alumni at New York Fashion Week next year.
How great. How
Yes.
great.
They were supposed to be showing like this week or next week currently, but because of the pandemic, we've got it delayed a year.
Until next year. You're probably going to need a photographer right there at front row, aren't you?
I bet you'd like to be there.
I volunteer right now.
That.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. There's lots of solace to be had in beauty, David. And I know that the Friedman has an absolutely gorgeous show and a very thought-provoking show and a very stimulating exhibit as well. 3 things going on right now.
Absolutely. So you just pulled up the screen with the main gallery exhibition title. That's Picasso, Master of Clay, and Moulet on the Move. That's going to be on view through October 16th in our main gallery. And that exhibition came to us from the Park West Museum Foundation. So here you see an installation shot of that. In the cases, you see the Picasso ceramics, which are ceramics that he did towards the end of his career. And it's interesting because Picasso really, unlike many artists, had success early or earlier in his career. And actually, there was some concern raised by his then partner Gillot, whether he should actually be doing these multiple ceramics. Would that kind of deflate his the price of his paintings and his one-off works and things like that? And he really, at that point, he was more interested in what he was doing in the process of this. And it really showed because he stayed with this studio, which was in Valerius, I believe, in France, the Majora studio, for 26 years, something like that, and made many multiples with them. So some of the ceramics that you see here had small additions of maybe 25 in the run. Others had up to 500. That's what you see in the cases. And then the Moulet paintings that you see on the wall are representative of this particular artist, Marcel Moulet, who traveled extensively. And these are some of his travel paintings and lithographs throughout the exhibition of all of his various travels around the world, really. You see a lot of, here you see one of his seascape paintings. There are landscapes, there are marketplaces, so kind of cityscapes. There are indoor scenes, there are also still life scenes, really beautiful work. And in the, back to the ceramics, the Picassos, we see also a range there of ceramics. So pitchers, plates, tile works, things like that. Really interesting.
Right. Neither of them was able to come to the opening for the show, unfortunately.
Yes,
Wasn't
I know.
even the problem of COVID this time. But it's absolutely appropriate that the two of them be shown together, right? Because they knew each other.
Exactly.
And they operated in many of the same circles and even some of the same geography. If someone's interested in coming to the Friedman, it's literally a dose of southern France, and you can almost feel the scenery, and you can feel the fresh air and the sunlight. It's a wonderful thing.
It's a nice counterpoint to what we're personally going through now. And you are correct; these were contemporary artists or contemporaries among themselves. Although Mouly was slightly younger,
Right.
and certainly influenced by some of the work that Picasso was doing in his kind of modernist and cubist departures and things like that.
Now, I know in the project space, we have an equally beautiful and fascinating, but also very challenging group of sculpture, really, by David J. Wilson, called Ontological Inebriation.
Yeah.
And that's going to be up for the rest of September and into October as well.
Correct. Yeah, October 4th is the closing date of that. And here you see, I love this shot, by the way, that you did, Dr. Pankratz, kind of looking through one of the sculptures. What I also love right now about what we have in the whole gallery is we do have video work. We'll get to that shortly. We have these beautiful sculptures, which are primarily wood. We have ceramics, we have paintings, and we also have prints, the lithographs. Right. So really a range of media right now for people to take in. This work, though, by David Wilson, who we had two pieces of his on display about a year and a half ago when we did our juried exhibition, our national juried exhibition on social justice. And he was our Best of Show winner. And so as part of his prize, he was asked to do a solo show, and that's what you see here. So his artistic practice really is informed by his activism as someone who's very interested in prison reform. Yeah. And so the things that you see here reference things that in many cases were things that he saw at one point when he was going into the prisons and talking to prisoners. The piece that you see right here is an example of his kind of amalgamation of different things. So it references photography and the use of, at one time, mugshots that were put into the public domain. Even if the person was not convicted of a crime, people could access these and then basically frame these people and say, I'm going to release this as if you were actually a criminal if you don't give me money. So they were kind of framing these people for
framed in a double sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's referenced there, but you also see some other interesting things. So that solid piece in the center represents toilet paper, which is one of the few luxuries that prisoners have. And it's also referencing the use of that as an art medium for many prisoners. And we had a show here probably about 5 or 6 years ago that included work by prisoners. So self-taught artists, and many of the sculptural works, the 3D works, were in fact made out of toilet paper that had been wetted and then used almost like plaster of Paris to create sculptures, and that's a reference to that.
Wow, wow. So many of his works look like leather. They look like some sort of constraint, some sort of device to bind people and to control bodies, and yet they're all made out of wood. And bent and sculpted and shaped, incredibly time consuming.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's part of the beauty of his techniques. And you mentioned one of those, kind of the bending of wood technique through the use of wetting it and shaping it over other objects and steaming it and things like that. He also uses veneer and other wood techniques. This is one of the few pieces that he also incorporates silicone, so kind of that gray material at the bottom. Yeah, thank you. That gray material you see there is silicone. This actually references, there are, I think, 3 pieces in this exhibit that reference fashion works that kind of relate to this idea of physical constraint. And so these were, I forgot now the fashion house that these relate to, but
Hermes, I think.
That was, yes, thank you, Hermes, yes. And so this was a toy that was developed for that collection that particular year, but really references that idea of physical constraint and bondage. And this particular artist, David Wilson, is interested in the effects of that on people's psyche. How does that affect us when we are constrained and have to conform as prisoners?
As prisoners, and it looks dated, right? It looks very old and looks very traditional. So as we think about the carceral state today, we're also thinking about people in bondage under slavery in the United States as well. So there's it reaches back into our national memory and makes us think of that.
Absolutely. So that's a very timely reference today. And as you mentioned, there's so many layers within this. And also so many details. I think you have another image that shows a really detail that relates this to the human condition. And that's his incorporation of the fingers into the buckle part of this particular piece. And here you can really see that it is wood. From far away, it does kind of reference leather, as you were saying. But here you see the actual wood grain and the detail of those fingers, which are really amazing.
Wow.
Very powerful work.
It really is. It really is. And very much in keeping with the Friedman Gallery tradition of showing works that really challenge us in a philosophical and political way, and not just please our taste or our vision.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very pleased also that we have a publication to go with this. That we had a critical essay that was written by a young woman, Nava Milliken, who's the artist.
I'll let you show. We'll stop the PowerPoint and I'll let you show show the publication now.
Oh yeah, sure. So as I was mentioning, we have about his work with a critical essay by Nava Wilkinson. She's the artistic director at Center for Wood in Art in Philly. Talks a little bit about his themes. We also have, going back to the first exhibition, a lovely catalog, 170-page catalog from the Picasso Moulet show, courtesy of Park West Foundation. Beautiful full-color renderings and things like that. Yeah, amazing. And these are all free. But you were also mentioning kind of the critical exhibitions that we have here. We have one other show that's running right now in our foyer gallery. We have a piece for that as well. It's Rambod and Ramyar Vala. And these are 2 Iranian artists. You can see here the trifold. This is a digital video that they put together, and it really chronicles their attempt to get American work visas to be able to stay past their graduate studies here in the US. And one brother was successful and one brother wasn't. And so it's a really compelling story about what's happening right now, very timely in the US with immigration and
asylum seekers.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing show. And our curator who was here with us about a year ago had planned to show that work in the spring. And that was one of the 2 shows that we couldn't hold because of COVID. So we were able to bring it to you guys now. And so we thank Elena for bringing that artist to us.
Great. Well, we have just a couple minutes. David, you mentioned COVID, and the campus is functioning, but functioning in a very careful way. It's possible for members of the public to come and visit the Friedman?
Absolutely. So you've noticed me here with my mask on today, kind of struggling that with my glasses and things like that. As many of us do. But yes, we are open to the public. We did develop a very important plan of how we would safely reopen. And so we do ask visitors to check out the Albright website first to see what all of those requirements are, but we do require for you to wear a mask at all times, to use hand sanitizer. If you have been recently exposed to someone who has COVID or you have COVID, we do ask that you wait and not come to see us. We do have options on our website and through social media for you to see still photography that Dr. Pankratz always does and is amazing. We also have some virtual videos on Facebook that we took for our live opening. Those are there for you to see. And I'm happy to do a tour for anyone who wants kind of a private Zoom session, anything like that at any point. So lots of, yes.
And it's so important. I think when we're denied the abundance of pleasure and stimulation that we're used to in our society, each chance to see beauty, each chance to think deeply is so important. I think we latch onto it, and I think it feeds us and nourishes us.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So I think,
yeah, thank you. I do want to just say one thing real quick. I mentioned our former curator. We do have a new curator that's coming, and hopefully she'll be on a show in the future. Her name is Honor Wilkinson, and I'm super pleased that she'll be here. She comes to us from Bowdoin College. Bowdoin. Thank you. I always get that wrong when I get nervous. We'll welcome her the first part of October. So hopefully she'll be on and you can introduce her at some point, Dr. Pankratz.
Fabulous. We'll look forward to that. This has been a great show. It's been wonderful talking with you folks, even via Zoom. We're making Zoom work. We're getting so good at it now.
I think it worked great.
So thank you. And thanks to Crystal as well for her hard work over the summer. And thank all of you for watching. We'll be joining you in another broadcast of the Albright Scholar in October. Until then, be well.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.